MGT does not substitute for medical, financial, or legal advice.
Welcome to MGT. I'm Monique.
And I'm Lainey, and we have the cheat codes to the simulation.
Today we have Devon on the show, aka the Black Airbender.
And he is the pioneer of Alchemy Breathwork, which looks at healing with breath consciousness, energy, and fasting.
In the electromagnetic world, there's point A and point B. In the scalar world, there's only 1 point, 0 point energy. Point A represents the universe in the electromagnetic world. There's a lag time going to point B, but in a scalar wave world, everything is interconnected. No lag time. Way before solar panels became a thing, he understood that the new power plants are the stars. In the beginning years, Nikola Tesla started with AC electricity. Then he built a scalar tower in Long Island, New York. Tesla discovered scalar energy, a 5-dimensional energy. So if you look at Tesla's Wardenclyffe towers, there is no electrical wires because the new wiring system is the universe, because it's an infinite source of energy, because that is our nature.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm electric, and you?
Oh yeah, just trying to disperse the energies.
I'm actually very electric today, so if I'm a little more frenetic and not my sassy self, forgive me in advance.
All good. Thank you ladies for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We just think you're so incredible with all of the things that you do. So we would love to hear your ascension journey and like your lifestyle. And
where are you at the moment? It looks so sunny and beautiful.
Oh, I'm here in Miami, Florida.
Stunning. Very lucky. Looks gorgeous there.
Thank you. Yeah, so to begin with, it all started with California when I lost everything to a business partner out there. And when I lost everything, I had to sell my laptop literally for gas to literally drive back cross country all the way back home.
The nosy part of me wants to know what happened, but
lots of money was lost, basically. When I came back to the place we were staying, long story short. And then I went to Chinatown and they were giving a bigu ceremony. But my main point of going to Chinatown was seeing Bruce Lee's statue. And because it was always on my list to do so. And we almost worked with his daughter to make this huge orgonite pyramid with like Bruce Lee kicking and with crystals in there and stuff like that. So we were also in the orgonite business at that point in time.
Oh, wow.
And they had a community center there, and I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. A lot of people were going in and out. So I went over there and they were giving a bigu seminar. And the seminar, bigu is literally a Taoist energy cultivation practice where you don't need quote unquote dense foods at a certain point on your journey. It's not even to become a quote unquote main, the main point isn't to become a quote unquote main breatharian, but the main point is to quote unquote feel energy in the body to the point where, breatharianism technically is a byproduct at that point in time. And I told my sifu, who became my sifu at the time, what I was going through. And he literally took me under his wing for a very long time, almost half a year. And every day was hours and hours of training. And even before I did my first breathwork, journey with him, he had me fast for 2 weeks straight. I've never fasted that long before on liquids. And we went into a 2-hour session.
I was going to say, had you fasted? Did you go straight into a 2-week?
Yeah,
So
he had me go straight into it. Yeah, he had me go straight into it for 2 weeks straight. He guided me here and there. Didn't really do too much breath work. He just gave me little tips here and there, and the main point was to go through emotional releases, and then the main event was that 2-hour session to initiate me, quote unquote, at that point in time, and to get my whole journey started. And after that, we did a full month together. After a full month, he asked me, would you want to be initiated at this point into the Bigu practice? And at that point in time also, he never really conformed to the dogma within Bigu. He was, you could say, he was a pioneer in that aspect. And that's when his own Sifu said, yeah, you surpassed me because you didn't restrict yourself into dogmatic laws within Bigu. And even I broke away from dogmatic laws that even he coached and teach, and even he took some lessons from that. So from that point in time, I got initiated, and I took everything I learned within that practice, mixed it with sacred geometry. And at that point in time also, I was going to a lot of science fairs in California. So I was blessed to be in certain particular circles of even NASA scholars and people of that nature, and got to pick their brain even on breathing at that point in time before I left. So I took everything I learned and created what I call Alchemy Breathwork.
I love that. I think that's what's so appealing, is that you've got like the science and the spiritual, and you've like merged it. So that really speaks. We love that. Like we love merging that. We have to ask, like, the pyramid. I feel like that's going to be something that everyone is going to be very curious about. Tell us all about that.
So this pyramid company in particular was made by Dr. Fred Bell, who is a NASA scholar himself. And he orgone plated this. So it's not just metal plated. So orgone plating is basically crystallizing different types of crystals all into dust and powdering it on, and then adding the metal and ionizing the gold and copper together. I have two different ones. I have one that's gold and one that's actually diamond plated.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's so bougie. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, functional jewelry, as they say.
Like that's some drip. I love it.
Yeah.
And they did a study where they had a bunch of fruits and vegetables underneath the pyramid, and it lasted a lot longer versus outside the pyramid. So it helps with cellular generation, helps block EMF radiation.
Oh, oh my gosh, my brother would love that. Like he's like all about the 5G at the moment. I need to get him a pyramid.
So with the pyramid, is that essentially like your own, I guess, portable orgonite?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Fabulous. I've got an orgonite in my bedroom. My partner's like, what the F is this? I'm like, it protects you while you sleep from the EMFs. But that's so wicked that you can like actually wear it and like go around with it. Have you noticed a difference since?
Oh yeah, big time. I even sent my Sifu one, and he said, yeah, this is definitely helping you.
Like in what way? Like, do you feel more clear-headed, or?
Breath work in general is deeper for sure in terms of meditation in general. When I go into big crowds, I definitely feel even a more protective bubble around me.
Oh
and
God,
even before getting the pyramid, I would actually do a pyramid meditation and imagine a pyramid energy around me expanding, contracting. And I attracted this company to me, and I'm working with them.
Wow.
Very wonderful.
When you say about the pyramid, just quickly, so usually when people talk about like a protective like wrapping, a lot of people speak about like a bubble, but you keep speaking about like a pyramid. Is there a reason why it's a pyramid, like the geometry side of it?
Even within our DNA, in terms of how the clusters of cells are brought together, it's actually in a pyramid formation. So it harmonizes with the cells within all the way down to the cellular level, and You can even attest it to the astral level as well. When I did astral imaging before and after the pyramid, there's tons of pictures like that, and you can definitely see how it definitely affects the aura and helps strengthen your energy in that aspect.
Is that because it's like half of a Merkaba, like to help?
Yeah. You could say that.
Like my portal's going like way crazy today. I'm like, ground my energy, ground my no, I didn't have a big enough rock today to like keep me in this dimension. What was I gonna say? That like I find that so interesting. Like, do you ever not wear it now?
When I go to sleep, or when I go to sleep, or I like to say rest instead of sleep, because I only sleep or rest like 3 to 4 hours.
That's so wild. I actually heard Grub from the Garden talk about that, like as you become like more light and like less density, that you like need less sleep. And I'm actually not a huge sleeper myself, but did that start straight away, or like?
Oh, no. It took a gradual time to even get to that point where I don't even sleep flat. I sometimes sleep upright. So it literally becomes a meditation in that aspect. And that took a long time to get to that point.
Oh, that's wild. I don't know if I imagined this, but did I see that you had like a big one as well that you sometimes?
Yep. I literally sleep under that or rest under that.
Where can I get one of those?
Unfortunately, I don't sell them anymore. But I can definitely guide you to some resources via just text me DM and I'll send that to you.
Perfect. Yeah, I actually did see that as well. And I was like, oh, dreamy. I need that.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
So how long have, like, I feel like I saw that you have been a breatharian for 4 years, and it's almost like everyone that I like talk and tell them about you, they're like, nah, I don't believe that, like it's 4 years. So like, how do you, I guess, like explain to people that you can survive without eating?
Yeah, well, the main point of explaining. So in terms of explaining it, we can look at it at a biophotonic aspect where beyond food, the body needs quote unquote biophotons to survive. Beyond whatever you think about nutrients, everything you know or think about nutrients, it really stems from biophotonic energy. And biophotons is literally coming from the sun, from the ether. And if you don't have biophotons, you die. Literally, you die. So there's so many studies out there where they study monks in terms of meditation and how their biophotonic energy goes up. So if you have less blockages in the body and your main quote unquote food source or energy source is, for me, in my point in time, breathing and specific parasympathetic style of breathing where it lowers inflammation, thus increasing blood flow, thus increasing assimilating aspects of your blood to assimilate more biophotonic energy. That is the main basic simplistic way I could explain how I'm surviving and still actually growing in mass as well.
Yeah, because I mean, like people that would see you right now and hearing that you solely live on breath alone would be like, you know, you're not small, you know, your bones aren't protruding out of you. So I feel like people that don't really know much about this are going to be looking at you and being like, surely not. But I mean, it is, right? Like the grounding, the sun, the breath, it is all essentially nourishment and food for us.
Yeah, specifically the breath, because the breath is the guiding aspect of what carries the biophotonic energy or the energy around you. There was one person that I worked with, he stopped taking vitamin D pills, and 6 months he did blood work afterwards, and he had more vitamin D readings than he ever had before. He didn't even change his diet as much. The only thing that mainly changed was his breathing, and that goes to show you our gut is mainly for assimilating more energy from around you. And he barely even went out in the sun because he lives in a cold country.
That is so wild to me, but like I totally believe it. Like we recently did an extended fast, and yeah, for me as well, like the breath work. The first time I did an overnight, someone was like, "Do the breath work right before you go to sleep," because I could never make an overnight fast, and I'd always get to like midnight and be like, "Oh, help me, I'm hungry." And then like yeah, I did the breath work, and it was just insane, like how much it doesn't make you hungry. How many hours would you do breath work for a day? Like, what's a typical day for you?
To the outside looking in, you could say 6 hours, but in hindsight, if you ever really want to dive into alchemy, technically the whole day, because there's also mental breath work, there's quantum breath work, there's color breathing, there's all different aspects of breath work in that sense. And that's my main point in sharing this with the world in terms of breath consciousness. It's, a lot of people view breath work in a one-dimensional way, but when you go even deeper into the breath and what it can truly offer, you tend to utilize it as even a teacher in itself. I always have this saying, the breath itself is still teaching me till this day. That's how humble I am to it, because it really is a quote unquote living entity. And when you build a deeper relationship with it, it can guide you to things you've never thought possible whatsoever. And even my shifu took that. He's like, whoa.
Amazing. You just said color breathing. What is that?
So color breathing is you're simulating colors with the breath in a sense, and it really has helped people who are schizophrenic. So something simple as let's say I'm looking at green for instance, or I'm looking at the sky that's blue. So as I'm inhaling, I'm saying I'm inhaling blue healing energy. And as I'm exhaling blue healing energy. And as you're seeing it, you're also feeling it. And we all know how feeling is such a powerful tool in itself, right? So the other factor is the truth. And they're finding that when you tell the truth, you actually build up more neuroplasticity in your brain. It actually lowers inflammation in the brain as well. So that goes to show you there's a growing factor, quote unquote, in telling the truth. And as you experiencing it, as you're doing it, you're not lying to yourself, right? Because you yourself is breathing in this exact moment in time, and you're harmonizing with the inhale and the exhale at the same time with the color. And the color is universal. Even when I work with people who are colorblind, they actually it assimilates into their life a lot faster because some of them only see a certain shade of colors. So that goes to show you how deep our subconscious is, and colors is so universal no matter where you go. I had this one guy who unfortunately has to deal with his ex-wife because kids and stuff, and it got so bad where police are all the time are involved, and she would press certain buttons on him. So I've been working with him for about 2 weeks, and then when he finally sees his wife and she would have certain triggers, he was such in awe because he didn't get triggered. He started crying because all he could think of was the color she was wearing and just harmonizing with that back and forth.
Wow.
So that goes to show you how powerful color therapy and utilizing alchemy breathwork in this way is such a powerful tool.
That's so wild. Like, I think you've just connected more dots for me. It's like, it's actually so wild how, there's like all these different modalities, but then they like merge as well. So I'm just like a bit mind blown right now.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard of color breathing before, but I've got this thing with rainbows, like literally rainbows follow me everywhere. That's why I was like, colors? Please tell me more. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, literally colors and mushrooms are my thing.
Yeah, we have a lot. Almost every other day we see rainbows here in Miami, a lot.
Yeah, I feel like rainbows follow me wherever I go as well. But it's almost like odd. So I'll see a rainbow, I'll be like, oh, look, I'm a rainbow. And with whoever I'm with, they'll be like, oh, and then it would like just go. And I'm like, it was for me.
It's so funny because like since reconnecting with Monique, I've started seeing rainbows as well. And like today there was like the most random, I didn't get my phone out in time, but like it was like this little half rainbow in like the middle of the sky. And it was just like this little tiny, like, I was just like, and then it was like gone. I was like, no.
Oh man, mirror neurons. That's what we all have as individuals, and how our body connects way beyond the conscious mind can even comprehend. You know, it's just like if you're with your partner for such a long time, you start mimicking, you know, little of their habits, how they talk a little bit, and how they go around words. It's just like I say this when you're watching like a scary movie or something. You know, they're running after the killer or whatever. You know, someone's whatever, and your heart starts beating at the same time, and you wonder why, right? Because your body doesn't know the difference in terms of another human body, and it's really mimicking the chemical factors that your mind can only comprehend to such an extent, you know, because we're chemical based beings at a certain point, right? So that's how powerful mirror neurons is. And we found that the sound of my breath produces high points of theta and alpha to the brain. And we tried using other people's breath, but it didn't do the same thing. So that was also a smack to my face in the sense of how powerful embodiment really is, and the responsibility that people like me or people like you guys have in terms of sharing with the world.
It's so true, right? Like, I guess, like, yeah, like, I guess it's we're sort of out of our comfort zone. Like, we're quite new on the journey. So we were like, oh, how can we sort of like spread the word without like being like a know-it-all? So it's like, do you know what? We just have to like live the truth and embody like everything that we're like talking about. So yeah, we reconnected recently during doing breath work. Actually, like, we saw someone online, and it kind of just, yeah, it was actually so insane. Like, that was like one of the most integral things in making our 10-day fast as well. Like, I think Mon did 8. And yeah, but it was just insane how, like, when you take breathwork seriously, how it just elevates you and like takes you to places that you know you've never been. Like, I know for me, I've had like the most trippiest experiences, and like it's just like you never know what you're gonna get, basically. Whether you're gonna cry or like just be completely out of it, or
Yeah, I tell people, because Alchemy breathwork is mainly nasal breathing, and I tell people, hey, if you got to let out the snot, let it out. If you got to cry, if you got to fart, let it all out.
Absolutely. What's your thoughts on nasal breathing versus like obviously mouth breathing? There is a few techniques that are out there that use solely mouth breathing. For me personally, it feels unnatural. The nasal breathing feels better for me, but I know that some people are really big on the mouth breathing as well. So what's your thoughts on the two different types, and or do you use both of them?
I mainly use nasal breathing. Alchemy is 99% nasal breathing, if anything. There's only like one specific aspect of it where we would use the mouth, but it's very minimal and it's practical, makes sense. Yeah. But I look at it this way. With even talking in itself is basically loud breaths. We're literally putting molecular structures together to create the sound, as they say. So in hindsight, you're already technically doing mouth breathing in this aspect. And anytime you use your mouth, your sinuses turn off. And your sinuses don't just end here at your nose. It goes all the way under your eyes, all the way on top of your eyebrows, going closer to what? The brain. So why would I want to turn off the sinuses that connect me to quote unquote higher consciousness in that aspect, right? So when it comes to nasal breathing, also it's a direct correlation straight to the bronchial tube and your lungs. With mouth breathing, there's always going to be a lag because there's no direct connection. It goes into the chest a little bit, and then even if any, a little bit of air goes into the lungs. So if anything, if you are mouth breathing sometimes, you're mainly breathing with the chest versus your lungs. So even people who are even paraplegic, when I work with them, nasal breathing is so ideal and so powerful because you can have disformities in your body in a certain way, but if you're purely nasal breathing, you're building up strength wherever you have blockages that is causing that quote unquote deformities, to really open up those blockages and allow it, because it's going straight into the lungs, no matter how your position is, and it's just going to straighten those blockages immediately, if anything. I had one lady on Clubhouse, actually. I was doing the breath work and she said, "Oh my God, I can feel my legs." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm paraplegic." I'm like, "Whoa." And yeah, just that alone.
Wow.
Exactly.
That is insane.
That's how
That is so
powerful.
insane.
That's how powerful it is.
One thing I've noticed between mouth breathers and nasal breathers is the facial structure.
Yeah, we always have like this joke.
We're like, "Oh, you're a mouth breather."
You're a mouth breather.
Because they have no real definition and structure to their facial features and neck and jawbone. Is that because why would that be?
So there's a study that says if you're snoring or you're mouth breathing at nighttime, your increase of heart attack actually goes up 14%. That's also another reason why I'm saying nasal breathing is definitely superior in a sense, because your nose was made for breathing. Your mouth was made for eating or singing or talking, if anything.
Not for eating.
What was that? Not for eating. Yeah.
Not for eating.
For some people.
Yeah. It's like when I master my emotional eating, it's over for everybody.
Yeah. Just you wait.
Yeah, but they did a study as well. They followed this 14-year-old all the way to his adult life, and he's a chronic mouth breather. You can see the deformities of his facial features like worsen for the better in terms of how his chin start to sag and all that. So if mouth breathing does that on the outside, can you imagine what it's doing to the inside long term? You know, when I talk to people who do different styles of breathwork in terms of mouth breathing, I said, sure, you do feel that energy spike here and there, but if you really look at it in the long term, what's actually happening when you are doing mouth breathing or sympathetic styles of breathing is your cortisol level is always rising. No matter all the other benefits, sure, is rising too. But at the end of the day, why would you want to increase your cortisol level in the long term? You're gonna pay for it, whether you like it or not. It's and I see it with, you know, well-known quote unquote breath workers who do mouth breathing. You unfortunately see how they're aging.
I was gonna ask you about what you thought about that, actually.
Well, there it is. We don't have to name any names, but yeah.
I'm glad you said it. Because I thought the same thing. Like, for me, like I have PTSD. So it was like getting my nervous system under control is like a daily battle, honestly. It's like, you know, one thing could like set me off, and trying to like get it back into, you know, control is like so hard sometimes. So like when I, you know, would do these other styles, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to be like in that state. I like to do breath work to bring me, you know, to calm. Versus, but yeah.
When you have anxiety, when you have anything that brings up stress, what are you most likely doing? You're holding your breath. Aha! Like, why would you want to exercise that to a certain extent? Why? I don't. In Alchemy, we don't actually do any breath holding. If anything,
hold at all?
No.
That's so, yeah, it's so like I find it like I haven't quite mastered like all the different styles, and yeah. So what would I guess for our followers as well, like that are, you know, brand new and are probably only like familiar with like the more, you know, mainstream styles of breath work, like what would they expect?
Oh man, they can expect it where they can do the breath work almost all day long, because it's a parasympathetic style of breathing where you're exercising at that point more of your willpower versus the sympathetic style of breathing. You most likely will have seizures, pass out. You guys probably seen that when it comes to that style of breathing. I
was like, I think I've done that multiple times. I like wake up and I'm like, hang on, what?
That's also telling you, you know, your body can only take so much of flooding yourself with oxygen, because we're not oxygen based beings, we're carbon based beings. So when you can learn how to build up carbon receptors in the body, the easier it is to assimilate even the little amount of oxygen you may have. A lot of people ask me, how do you walk around in the city and still thrive on a liquid based lifestyle? And I'm like, well, when you have more efficiency with your breathing, you can really thrive anywhere. I work with people who go hiking in the mountains a lot, and they don't need to bring their oxygen tank anymore because they got to the point where they can take in little oxygen, but they can utilize it efficiently. It's not the more you breathe, the less you need. It's the more efficiently you breathe, the less you need.
Well, that's wild.
Because 90% of our atoms is carbon based. So the more you can strengthen those carbon molecular structures, the easier it is for carbon to attach to the oxygen and bring it straight to the brain.
Do you find when people are with you, like for the first time, that they don't know how to breathe, like even properly? It's almost like we've been trained not to breathe properly.
Yes, and it's such a wild. I love every type of reaction I get from that, specifically with people just like that, because it really opens their eyes and really shows them the power of breathing in different styles and just giving more reverence to the breath in this way as well. And it's a beautiful thing to just be part of anyone's breath journey. It really is.
Absolutely. Oh, I want to do it.
I know. I feel like I've been doing the breath work all wrong.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe not all wrong, but well, like
it's
obviously
it's like entry level, and
yes.
then it's like you get like different levels for different levels of ascension, right? So
yes, exactly. I feel like I'm ready to level up. So when you do your classes, just for the people listening as well, like, do you do one-on-one classes, or is it like a online thing?
Yeah, so there's two different options in terms of, I still do one-on-ones. I'm one of the few people out there in the world that will literally breathe with you for a whole year.
I love
literally.
That. Wow. I want
so
that.
I needed that today.
and then we have Breath Family, which is the members group. It's filled with tutorials, group chat, and we also have classes in there, Zoom calls, and the private Instagram page that's filled with like 30-day challenges. And literally even the Instagram page alone, there's over 150 plus videos just waiting to utilize. And when you join Breath Family as well, you get the subliminal breathwork music that comes with anytime I release something new, it's automatically put on there, so you get to download it immediately, and even have like the 1 hour versions versus 3-minute versions that I put out in public. So that's a huge plus I've seen really help. And that also helps with people who are that may even have some traumatic events when doing breath work, like we were going back to the mouth breathing. Maybe some people out there, never even want to try it again, right? So I tell them, hey, well, just try listening to the subliminal breathwork music, and that will at least help you go into nasal breathing too versus the mouth breathing, and also help you with your breathing patterns in the subconscious way. We found that one of the main reasons why I even made it public and started making subliminal breathwork music with the new band that I have called Brett Trio.
I saw that. I just saw the page. I was like, oh, amazing.
I had a friend who his uncle was on a respirator, and the nurses finally turned off the TV. I don't know why they have TVs in hospitals and stuff, but they turned off the TV and they played the subliminal breathwork music on repeat for about 3 weeks straight. And when he got off the respirator, he could literally do the exact same breathing patterns that he was listening to this whole entire time.
Wow.
So music is so powerful. I have to ask, like, what is like the basis of the music? Like, do you use certain frequencies or like?
Yeah, so the basis of it is definitely my breath, because we found, again, my breath produces high points of theta and alpha in the brain. And just you hearing someone breathe like that, going back to the mirror neurons, sometimes I'll breathe so deep in the music too that you want to breathe really deep in that sense, and it really helps influence. It's like you're breathing as multiple people all at once, and it's really powerful in that essence. But We embedded C sharp as the bass, and C sharp is really the Earth's frequency. And it's one of the main frequencies that I love because it doesn't need to be too loud for you to get the benefits. It can be very subliminal because the Earth's frequency is already emanating from the Earth already. So when you even turn it on a speaker, and we even try this, and you yell, you can hear like it latch on to the frequency and have like an interesting echo effect.
Oh wow, love that.
To that,
I need to try this.
Yeah, all it's doing is it's just harmonizing what's already happening with the Earth, you know, emanating that frequency and focusing it into one atmosphere. So that's the basis of it. And the recent one I just put out is breathing confidence, and we put it out in 528 hertz, which is the human DNA, and it's really powerful in that essence. I even made subliminal breathwork for COVID. I made one for pregnant mothers. I made one for fasting. And the fasting one was actually a group breathwork session I did with Breath Family. Everyone apparently was on a liquid fast. I'm like, oh, okay, we can definitely use this, because going back to the whole embodiment aspect of it, you know, we're embedding that into the music. That's what music is. It carries a frequency. And I have a saying, what you do frequently is your frequency, as they say.
Oh, I love that.
I like that as well. I need this fasting music because I'm currently 3 days into my liquid fast, and I feel like it's really going to benefit me.
Yeah,
so
here's a great tip. Here's a great tip for you. Anytime you drink, literally play it, and that will subconsciously, you know, quote unquote, train yourself also turning music into food as that well, in that sense as well.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, no, I almost can't function without music, to be honest. Like my building manager would be like, you literally don't go anywhere without your music playing. And I'm like, sorry.
It just music is literally like therapy, hey?
Yeah.
Because it just takes you on such like a roller coaster as well, depending on what you're listening to. It just enhances that feeling so much more. It can almost like, it's like a release. Like if you needing to get something out, maybe like emotional wise, and you listen to a certain song and you finally like let the waters flow.
Literally how I cry.
Yeah, you feel like amazing afterwards. You feel cleared.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think people realize the like power in music. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just so powerful.
The Rife machine that I saw on your page, like, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so William Rife is someone who utilized frequency back in either the 1800s to 1900s, not sure which specific time, but he helped heal people with ailments, cancer, and he had frequencies specifically for each different ailment you could think of. And it even got to the point where we were so close for it to be in the hospitals and things of that nature. But you know how big pharma works, and
yeah,
they did what they did. And I got to experience it with plasma and light therapy. And that was a really psychedelic experience in itself. It was really, really powerful, using the plasma frequency into the body that way, and utilizing the light as a combination. And that's what ancient Egypt literally did too. They have certain scriptures literally plated on the walls of Egypt, and you see huge light bulbs, and that's really the plasma bulbs that's actually in the machine as well. And I got to experience that, and I'm gonna actually bring it into the Breath Ascension retreat this November. So that was a surprise that I released early. I was gonna surprise them, but everyone's asking like, "Are you gonna bring it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring everyone there."
I was like, I need to get to. Did you say, is it in Miami in November? Did you say?
Yeah, it's in Miami. Yeah.
I'm gonna like put that to the universe.
Take
me to Miami.
Yeah, the first one we're doing here is already sold out, but I'm gonna make an announcement most likely February.
Oh.
Is the next one most likely, so we'll see.
Oh heaven. I'm such a huge believer in like energy healing. I've, always sort of looked, I guess my first sort of taste of it was Louise Hay. So ever since then, I'm like, I'm going to heal myself metaphysically. So like I've always sort of like experimented with different things. But yeah, I think it's just such a huge area that people just don't know anything about. And I just love that you have like so much to learn on your page. Like, what other cheat codes have you got for us?
Red light therapy is a huge one, specifically for this day and age, because not many of us can go outside and be naked, which we should be. If you can do it, get your genitals some sunlight, because it barely gets any sunlight. So the main healing factor that comes from the sun is infrared. And even on my website, there's on the biohacking page, there's a link straight to it, and there's a portable infrared. That was like my main one that I definitely wanted to share with people. I'm like, this thing is portable, so
you need the portable.
yeah.
Well, living in the
act.
cities, it's actually, it's so funny because like my little brother, I told my little brother that he has to sun his genitals. So he'll be like, I'm doing it. Like, he'll like send me like a photo of the sun and his legs. But it's like, as a girl, and like I live in the city with like, there's like nowhere I have no backyard. Like there's like literally nowhere. So I need one of those as well.
Yeah, it's such a big hack. I'm like, oh, if I can finally do it in the private of my home and really get the benefits from it. And some people live in colder climates during the wintertime. They barely can really go outside, right? So there you go. That's a huge hack.
Melbourne, like we barely get the sun. So it's like, you get like 10 minutes and you're like quickly trying to get outside. So yeah, I think that's going to be like, definitely.
Oh, Melbourne, Australia?
Yeah.
Really? I thought it was always warm over there.
Oh, not in the winter.
We get like 4 seasons in one day. Like you just never know what you're
gonna get.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. Okay.
Like sometimes it's like, sometimes it's sunny in the winter and you're like, last year it was like the whole of winter I was waiting for it to get like really crap and it just never did. And like this year it's just a bit all over the place. Like you just never know what you're gonna get. But I think
so in the winter time, do you guys wear like coats and stuff like that? Is that cold? Oh wow.
Where I am, it's not as cold. Like you'd put a jumper on maybe, but like not like a coat. Yeah.
Monique lives in like a tropical place like you, basically. Like I'm just I'm literally in like the dungeon near Antarctica. No, it's like Melbourne's beautiful. It's a bit hard at the moment. Like we've been in lockdown for like 18 months basically. So yeah, like trying to get that sun it's like the only thing that sort of keeps me going basically. But yeah, no, it's so wild. I guess like to go with like the sunning of your genitals, like I've noticed a lot of divine masculines doing like the semen retention. Like, is that something that you also do?
Oh, definitely. If I didn't, I'd probably be deteriorating at this point on this journey.
I love that you said that. Like, tell the males why they need to.
Yeah, I feel like they need to really hear it from a male because they don't listen to the females.
They actually just think I'm joking when I say it. I'm like, dude, that's your life force.
So semen retention, semen in itself has so many nutrients. Just Google nutrients within semen if you're that skeptical about semen retention, and your body can actually utilize it, specifically if you're fasting or if you're not someone who exercises much or who eats a lot. I guess semen retention doesn't do as much, but in the physical aspect, even all the way down to the metaphysical aspect, it takes a lot of blood and energy to even make one drop of semen, a lot. So hypothetically, if you are spilling the seed a lot, can you imagine how much energy you need to really build that up again and again and again and again and again? And that's really your life force. If it can literally, if one little drop can create another human baby, can you imagine what it can do if you utilize it within the body? And I'm not saying don't have sex, but utilize semen retention. And if you get your breathing mechanics to the point where you can actually orgasm internally and send the semen up the spine, because little do people know, the spine is where semen is created. Even women technically create semen. It's really within the spinal fluid. So, and the spinal fluid is literally the same fluid as you can find in your brain in terms of the white matter. It literally goes up the spine during even breath work. That's where you get the psychedelic effects that way too, with efficient breathing. So when you do that, when you hold the semen for longer and longer, it helps build up your life force in terms of law of attraction. Think of it this way: you have more energy to attract whatever you want to attract in your life, in that sense, but also more importantly, heal, because you won't utilize that much blood energy in the sense of creating that much creating semen that you've lost if you are quote unquote spilling the seed over and over and over again. And men who do hold the seed, when I help them with the breathing mechanics too, you actually last a lot longer in bed as well, by the way. Because look at it this way: if you're always spilling the seed,
that's a cheat code, guys. That's a cheat code.
if you're always spilling the seed, that opening that released the seminal fluid will get you to ejaculate. It's always going to be open and open and opening. Versus if you learn to retain the seed, that specific vein that allows semen to come out will actually get tighter, and it actually will help you too in the long run, because you'll know, oh, I'm about to ejaculate, so I'm going to stop here and do some breathing in between and really, relax, last longer, and then go again and again. So the longer you go on this journey too, you get to go literally as long as you want. And that's a huge hack. And you get to ejaculate internally and recycle those nutrients within the body, depending on the style of breathing you're doing. So with women, it's more so the menstrual cycle. Of course, women can ejaculate all they want, but they're not really wasting any life force, so to speak. But it really comes from the menstrual cycle. And I guess the fasting will definitely help. In the long term, you're going to see your menstrual periods reduce. And that's not a bad thing, because in hindsight, women aren't really supposed to have their periods. Even in a study in Australia, actually, in Queensland, in my opinion, is the fruitarian hub of the world, because a lot of fruitarians live in Queensland, a lot. Although all the way to Coconut Boy. If you guys ever heard of Coconut Boy, in Queensland, he was born. They literally raised him raw. He was literally raised on coconuts, and
that sounds so good.
His dad is like 60 years old, still climbing the coconut tree like a wild man.
I love that.
Yeah, they did a study on women in Australia, specifically fruitarians, and they found that their nutritional aspect of how they get food and stuff like that was a lot higher than the average human being, and they're a lot healthier. In terms of their periods, they barely even had any period in that point in time.
We're so actually glad you said that, because it's something that we've sort of been like, I guess, experimenting with, like in terms of like the last 6 months, like at different levels of like alignment and fasting, and I guess like just, going from like a really shitty diet to like being, really, really strict with like fasting and breath work and spiritual hygiene and stuff. And it's insane, like the different levels. And I guess like, we're always told like, we're meant to, menstruate, and then we sort of got this download that was like, hang on a second, there's a lot of people saying that we're not meant to. So yeah, it's quite confusing for people as well. So it's like we were like, oh, what's going on, like which way is right? Like so yeah, that's so wild that you said that, and we're like, yeah, that, and shedding light on it. So I guess like what brought you to that like knowledge?
Actually working with a lot of women, helping them reverse certain diseases in the long run. And that's one of the byproducts I've noticed when actually working with women, beyond all the scientific stuff and what people are saying, actually working with these women and seeing their humongous transformation and how they're losing their periods and they're healthier than they've ever been. And they've done blood tests. There's lots of women who are like, whoa, I don't know if this is really right, Devon. Let me go do some blood tests. and their readings are literally off the charts, and their doctors are so surprised, especially when they start telling your doctors, oh yeah, I don't have my period that much anymore. They're like, what? This isn't normal. But your readings are normal, but way beyond normal. But yeah. So having feedback like that from actually working with women one-on-one for this long, it's a beautiful thing to just even have confirmation like that. And when I tell people on this journey too, even if you are menstruating, you can put it on your face so it can get reabsorbed into the body, so you're not really losing as much nutrients.
Wow.
Yeah, some women actually drink it as well.
I've
witnessed that.
seen that actually, which I guess brings us to our other, like, the UT. Like, is that something that you practice and like do full looping for? How long have you been doing that for? Oh, actually, maybe talk about UT, because I don't even know if people even know what it is. We're like in uncharted territory.
In other words, urine therapy. That's what that's what we're talking about. Urine therapy is a practice of utilizing your urine for healing practices in general. Personally, I don't really do it anymore as often, because what urine therapy taught me was literally you're recycling chi over and over and over. And I do that mainly with a specific style of breathing that way. And we even saw this in the study that they're doing on me, that's literally what I'm doing in terms of energetic biofeedback, which is the wildest thing, and it's blowing everyone's head in the labs too. So it's a blessing to just have confirmation like that. But I use it more topically, if anything. I used to, even my first time, I'll share my first time doing it. I just had it sitting in the bottle, like 16 ounces, sitting in the bottle for a couple of days, and it gets stronger over time because it's literally stem cells. It's not waste. And even the top beauty products, if people on here are skeptical, the top beauty products contain urea. Where do you think urea comes from?
We've heard that actually.
I've
like,
read that.
There's like portaloos that like sell it back to Big Pharma, and we're like, something's going on here.
Yeah.
Well, I think
that fucking blew my mind. I was like, no fucking way. And those products are like $300.
Yep. Yep.
I think for me it was like
all over again.
For me, it was like when, I guess, like, because obviously like there's this huge, deprogramming thing that you have to like get your head around. But I think that for me, it was like the whole baby swimming in the, what's it like? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when babies are in the womb, they're literally swimming in their own urine in terms of the embryonic fluid, and they're literally ingesting it, re-ingesting it, and it's going in and out the placenta. Blood in itself is just technically urine itself, because urine is literally blood plasma, and it's stem cells that has yet to be utilized, that becomes tissue, part of an organ, you name it. So there's also urine groups, and there was actually a scientist that came into one of them, and she tested the white sediments on the bottom, because everyone's like, that has to be waste, right? And even in the fasting world, they think it's like filtration, and that's all waste on the bottom. Hey, I'm filtering. Little do people know that it's actually crystallized white blood cells. That's all it is. It's not even waste whatsoever. It's just crystallized white blood cells. So you can even drink that if you want to. Some people filter it, but even my first time doing it, I drank it, and I was trying to get off cheese at that point in time. This was about, almost 9 years ago. But I was trying to get off cheese, and when I drank it, I went straight to the bathroom. I drank all 16 ounces of matured urine. So I went straight to the bathroom, and I flushed out a bunch of parasites.
Oh my God.
I've never seen parasites whatsoever before on this journey at that point in time. And a bunch of parasites came out, and that was the point in time where I gave up cheese. That's how powerful urine therapy really is.
I love cheese.
I can't even imagine you eating cheese. Like you saying eating cheese, I'm like, no, I can't imagine this.
Like nearly a decade ago, babes.
Yeah. But that's insane. So like you could actually physically like see them, like, so they're quite large.
I saw the worms. I saw the mucoid plaque. Some mucoid plaque came out as well, and that was such a powerful experience, and that opened my eyes right there.
Yeah. So what was your next step from there? So was like UT for you like just a stepping stone to where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. I went on and off of it, and then I fully committed about like 5 years ago, looping it, did a bunch of different urine fasts here and there, and it helped me to where I'm now because it has a spiritual aspect to it too, because again, you're literally recycling chi, and the other aspect of it too, it's the closest thing to distilled water, and the other factor is no one else has quote unquote touched it but you.
Yeah.
So in terms of energetic aspect of it, it's very clean in that sense.
That's so wild, isn't it? Like, I know that like a lot of people are just going to be like, these girls have lost their mind, but like, it's so like, it's like it was so funny because like I don't know like why, but like we just started seeing it everywhere. Like people were like talking about it, and like it's just so interesting. And it's like obviously it's like a lot to get your head around, but like once you sort of do the research, you're just like, oh wow, like this is like a whole new can of worms. So like I guess what like you just decided that you had ascended beyond the looping recently, or
Yeah, I haven't really drunk it in about, it's been a couple months now. Yeah, I've been utilizing more topically, if anything. Well,
Yeah.
that's about it. And also enemas are great to utilize it for that too, for sure. It's the most powerful enema you could possibly do, because if you go to hydrocolonics, they'll tell you if you do hydrocolonics too much, you're flushing out good bacteria. But if you're using urine, you're technically using stem cells, and that residue stays within your gut and help heal. So that way, you're technically not losing anything at that point, but the waste product, that's coming out your colon in that
that's
sense.
so interesting. I love that. Like
I actually read somewhere that it tastes like coconut water.
Well, that depends on how much you're drinking in terms of hydration. That's a huge factor. If you're dehydrated, it's most likely going to taste like whatever you just ate at that point in time too.
Curry or something like McDonald's.
Yeah. For the people that are eating like really badly in McDonald's and junk food, like would you say not to touch it?
Oh, I would say definitely they should, because that'll tell them what's happening in their body, and probably they'll gain more respect for their body at that point in time. They're like, okay, this is what's happening in my body. And who knows? I've heard some pretty wild stories of it really, having a humongous detox effect and helping people get off those types of junk food. So why not? I think they definitely should.
Okay, that's good to know. So like they shouldn't try and like detox first, just go straight in.
Yeah, there's lots of people literally on their deathbed, and there's actually facilities that facilitate urine therapy in Mexico, in Costa Rica, and in Colombia. There's literally, America is like the only place, unfortunately, that doesn't have these facilities, unless there's the doctor in Colorado that's big on it, and he's having meetings in the library and stuff like that, but not an actual facility, but he helps people get on it too. So hearing stories from those facilities that people are literally coming from chemo and all different types of chemicals, utilizing it literally on their deathbed. So if it's that powerful to help them heal on their deathbed, yeah, you can have the worst diet. It still has all those nutrients and all the cleansing factors part of it. But if you're on medication, I would say only try like a little of it, and to help you quote unquote wean off the medication that way too. If you're someone that is trying to get off medication, and just use it more topically, if anything, in that aspect.
So wild, like literally mind blown right now.
I know. I was just thinking while you're saying that, my partner used to be in the Singaporean army, and when I had found some information about UT, I was kind of like telling him about it. He was like, yeah, that's what they told us to do. Like if we ever got like stuck anywhere, like no food, no water, was to drink our urine. I was like, wow. Like, like obviously to survive.
It's part of my zombie apocalypse prep, to be honest. I'm like, okay, so if the world is ending, this is what we're supposed to do.
It's funny when this whole this whole thing started with the whole pandemic, if you want to call it that. I feel like I made a meme too, like people in the holistic world, people who are fasting, breatharians, like we prepared for this. Like people are worried about food shortage and stuff like that. It's like we've been preparing for this since
it's like, why do you think
day
I
one.
can? Why do you think I can fast for 10 days now? I know how to do it. It's like I actually also have like 6 months worth of food as well. I'm like, okay, so I can fast for 10 days and I'll have like a little bit of bone broth and then I'll have 10 days. Like
we're fine.
Yeah.
Well, all your information has just been so valuable today, honestly. So grateful to have you on the show. It's been eye-opening at the least. It's been absolutely incredible. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Honestly,
you so much.
So grateful, and I'm so excited to start learning your breath work. I'm gonna sign up after we log off.
Yeah, if anyone wants more information, www.alchemybreath.work is the website.
And we'll put some links below as well on the YouTube. So, and some swipe ups. So, but yeah, we're so grateful. I can't wait to like try all the different styles and soundtracks. So yeah, thank you so much. And I'm sure everyone's going to love it as well.
Thank you all for sharing the breath.
Thank you. Peace. Thank you. Bye.
You've been watching an MGT production.